I've got to look at my marketing and my sales from a macro perspective, put in the context of the industry, and begin to understand where is this space going in the next 12 to 18 months. Now, I can't always predict that. I totally get that. I've got to be proactive. Yeah. And if I put my head in the sand and think, well, I'm just going to hunker down. You know what? Then you have just adopted cash flow pricing. Yes. And you might as well check out because it's just not going to work.
Hey everybody, Dacia here. As promised, we have part 2 of our conversation. So if you're ready to aggressively grow your revenue, let's go. Talk to me about sales superstars and their point of view around this. And I'll give you a little bit of context. Like I was talking to a prospect, and this is pretty common, but just 2 weeks ago, and they were like, okay, we're going to work on marketing, but we've got to find a really great salesperson first. We keep getting burned. So they're going back to the well 3 times now. And I have a lot of thoughts on this because that symptomatically shows up, when I hear a sales superstar paradigm in a leadership team. What is your perspective on sales superstars? You could take this in whatever direction you want to.
Yeah, first of all, there's a real quick way. If you're interviewing what's going to be perceived as sales superstar, ask them 2 questions.
Okay.
Question number 1, how do you start the day? You know what's interesting? Average performers, top performers, boom, boom, boom. Top performers are extremely, disciplined in their day.
Yeah.
In fact, I talk with a lot of top performers, and they say, I lead a very boring life. Every day at 9 o'clock, I'm doing this. Every day at 11 o'clock, I just. So I ask them, how do you start today? Second, if you're doing a Zoom call, a Teams call, is your CRM system open right now on your computer?
I literally never close mine. The only time it gets closed is when it timed out because I was on back-to-back meetings and I have to log back in.
And
yes.
Well, superstars don't use CRM. Oh, yes, the real ones do. The fake ones don't. Now, here's the situation. One of the challenges in hiring salespeople, especially if you're a small company, you've only got a couple of salespeople.
Yep.
You don't hire them and then go out and sell.
Good luck.
And be a Lewis and Clark and report back to us in 3 years. You got to nurture. You got to feed them. You have got to.
I agree.
Sales is emotional.
Yeah.
Sales is you have got to be with them and support them and help them. You've got to break bread with them. You've got to, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? Are there calls that I can be on? One of the things that a small business CEO or owner can do that will do you wonders is not participate at the end to try to close the deal. Yeah. Oh, close the deal. See, there it is. It's open the relationship. Because what you're doing there is you're taking it away from the salesperson.
Yeah.
What I want you doing is I want you opening the door. I want you opening the door. Now what that means is I want you having meetings and conversations with potential leads, potential big opportunities.
Yeah.
Because you know what's interesting? You as the CEO, you as the owner, you can get meetings.
Because of your title.
Because of your title.
That's right.
That's your salespeople. Oh, by the way, you can ask questions that you're being. And then, so what you're doing is you're then saying, hey, by the way, absolutely terrific meeting. I'm going to make sure that I get Dacia to come on in and meet with you. Oh, that's great. Now you've made the introduction.
And on top of that, you just elevated the position of your team and what you're capable of organizationally versus what you're capable of as an individual.
Yeah. Don't put
Love this.
Yeah. Now, some people sit there and say, well, I'm a top performer, and then I just want you to leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'll tell you what, those are lone wolves out there.
Lone wolves.
And they may say that they can play a big game, but generally they are going to leave you in chaos because they are going to make comments to customers that you can't deliver on.
Yeah.
It's the old scene out of the original Top Gun movie when Tom Cruise is called in on the deck of the aircraft carrier and says, son, your body's writing checks your mind can't cash or something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can't have lone wolves. You need team players.
Yep.
And if they claim that, don't run from them. And also the other thing, top performers sit there and say, well, I can bring over this whole book of business. I can bring over. You know, that book of business never winds up being much more than a coloring book, okay? I mean, how many times have we seen CEOs, owners fall for that. Don't. Just because they may have contacts, that's wonderful.
Sure.
But to think that that business is going to suddenly migrate from that company over to your company is just not going to happen.
The statistics say that brand reputation is valued more importantly now, first time ever in the statistics, than relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
Yeah.
what does that say? That says that we, the sales community, have not done a good enough job in creating authentic relationships.
Yeah.
I really believe in this
Yeah.
AI world. In fact, it's funny. I was doing a meeting yesterday with the COO of a major video company, and he said, we now have created an AI tool that I can create you, and you can drop in whatever script you want, and it will be you in a video.
Yep.
Okay, now that is as fake as can be.
Yep.
Oh, but you say up front, hey, this is my alter ego here. Yeah, but you know what? That's gonna fade pretty quickly.
Yep.
Here's the deal. In this fake artificial world that we live in, that's the yin. It's more important for us to be the yang.
Agreed.
If we can be authentic, if we can be absolutely genuine, more doors will open up for us.
I completely agree. I think the faster change happens, the more important true human connection and true humanity matters to balance it. I could not agree more. I do not think there is a replacement component. I think people will be even hungrier for the real deal. So yes, of course, we're all going to engage with AI and the tools that make things faster and easier and simpler. And we're going to trust humans at the end of the day. And we're going to still want meaning and connection with the people that we serve and are served by.
Yeah.
Completely.
I want to make a comment on that regarding websites, for instance.
Yeah.
If I'm selling a consumable
Yeah.
that's purchased regularly,
Yep.
my website can be more about the product and so forth. But
Sure.
if I'm creating any kind of a capital expenditure, recurring, significant purchase,
Yeah.
I've got to have information on regarding leadership, regarding the organization,
Yes.
regarding how this company operates, what their values are, I've got to have that, because I am not going to enter into a relationship with somebody where I'm going to make a capital expenditure
Yep.
on a piece of equipment, and I'm going to need you coming in and kind of maintaining this for the next 3, 4, 5 years, and this could be a 20-year relationship. I got to understand who you are.
Completely.
I am not buying just bolts and widgets. And this is the personalization that we have to do. So the sales call has got to reflect that. Everything has got to reflect that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I'm a big believer that the best don't always win. The best at removing fear always win. And so then what are you deploying that the customer values? And so if it is a values alignment scenario, or if it is a stability of your company, because this is going to be a potentially 20 plus year relationship. I mean, this is high cognitive load thinking. This is overwhelming. That's what B2B is. And psychologically, decision makings are emotional, not you and me making this up, not our point of view. Like literally, we know the brain functions emotionally around really difficult decisions, and B2B is about as difficult of a decision because of the complexity as possible. And so I am right there with you, you know, around that. I'm like, I love this.
There's several pieces I want to add to this. If anybody is watching this and they're the CEO of a company, or you're the owner of the company, your top two people,
Yeah.
one needs to be internally focused and one needs to be externally focused.
Yeah.
It is extremely important that somebody other than somebody with a sales title has an external facing role. Why? Because you're creating the personalization.
Yeah.
You are now the face in the industry events, the trade show, etc. If you're not comfortable with this, guess what? You better get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because in this yin yang world, it is absolutely imperative, because our messaging becomes more importantly. This is where you as a CEO, you as an owner, you have to have a presence on social media.
We call it
LinkedIn in particular.
We call it being a social CEO.
Yeah.
And, you know, you will hear so frequently CEOs. Now, I get being nervous behind the camera. I get it. But a lot of times what we hear instead is not the actual delivery. I get being busy, that type of thing. It's more, well, I don't believe in social media, or there's so much garbage out there. You know what that is? That is abdicating your responsibility and the voice that you could have to create really dynamic change in the world. If you don't like it, be what you do like, offer up there, because there are probably people out there that completely agree with you, and you would be a voice of significant difference where they're like, yeah, like how he's doing that, what she's saying, that's what I've been waiting for. And I could not agree more. I mean, there's just so much opportunity. And, at the risk of getting a little syrupy, one of my favorite thinkings on marketing and social, is about having impact beyond the invoice. Because you have to market and sell for the rest of the life of your business. There is no scenario where this goes away, no matter what technology does. So what if in the activities of marketing and selling, you're actually changing hearts, changing lives, teaching people about honor of work and what's possible? Why not have your cake and eat it too? Why not be that change? And on top of that, gain all of the benefits of attracting better clients, having deeper relationships, not closing, but opening customers, for like a long lifetime of value. I'm like, yes, I love this.
There is so much there because we attract customers who are like us.
Yeah,
I mean,
we do.
We absolutely do.
Yep.
And you build up a tremendous amount of equity.
Yeah.
Now, excuse me, but Chick-fil-A. Okay, I think we've all been to Now, Chick-fil-A's made it pretty much in most areas of the country.
Yes.
And you look at Chick-fil-A, you can't leave a Chick-fil-A without feeling better.
I know.
I mean, you can't. Now, here's
Agreed.
the whole deal. Does Chick-fil-A ever blow it on a meal? Yeah, they do. They can make a mistake. But somehow you're just nicer to them. If that pickle isn't on that sandwich, you're just nicer to them. Or,
Right.
Whatever. You're just nicer to them. When we are human, we create a level of equity that is going to help us transcend and build on mistakes that happen, different things that occur.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so important for us to have a presence out there, to be out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I see this with sales. It's funny. I tell salespeople I'm working with all the time, I have blown more sales calls than I've had successful. Michael Jordan. Okay, I've used Michael Jordan's name now twice, right? Okay, so anyway, he made a comment. He said, I've lost more games than I've won, but at least I took the shot.
That's right.
So you know what? I mean, there are times I've called somebody up and I got the wrong name. I've got the wrong, but you know what? It's okay. And you just laugh through it and you work through it.
100%.
And you move on. But what happens is you build up this equity over time with people.
Yeah.
This large deal that I did was 46 contacts. There was one time in one of the emails to her, I misspelled her name.
Yeah.
And it was funny, but she called it out to me.
Okay.
When I began talking to her, he
Yeah.
said, hey, you probably don't remember. I said, oh, man, I feel bad. He said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It happens. And I said, oh, man, I just feel, okay, so I'm going to write your name 50 times right now on a piece of paper. And she laughed.
Right,
and
exactly.
So again, you get on with it. It's okay.
You do.
Stuff
I agree.
happens.
I don't think good people expect you to be perfect, but they do expect you to show up in authenticity and own whatever happened, which is what you did. Small mistake, big mistake. If you show up and partner with them on that, I think that's all they wanted to see in the first place. If they are jerks, that's not your ideal customer anyways.
Thank you. Because again, we attract people who are like us.
Exactly.
It's absolutely spooky, but you can walk into a retail establishment and you see the people working there kind of mirror the customers. That is, okay, I'm not going to get into social strata here, but it's weird.
Are you a CEO of a business-to-business company? Maybe you're a sales leader or a salesperson, or maybe you're in business-to-business marketing. Well, if so, I wrote a book for you, and it's called Corporate Caffeine. Business-to-business marketing is different, but there are certain predictable fundamental principles that will help you unleash your organizational potential and fill your pipeline sustainably. So you can find my book on Audible, on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com, or any of your favorite retailers. Hope you enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your feedback. I want to shift a little bit to one aspect around how to organize sales and potential sales problems. So, and the reason I bring this to bear is because people have a tendency to see marketing as this big, murky cloud of like, I don't know, reach in the cloud and pull out a thing and let's pray it works. And that's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a system and it's supposed to be operationalized. And sales is much the same way, but we hear sales superstar language. We hear a lot of different things where I think people minimize what sales actually is, but there are decisions that they can make behind it. So when you're thinking sales operations or just sales as a total function, what does a mature sales system look like? And what are some of the non-human aspects or the decisions behind it that need to be organized to really get top productivity and top humanity out of your system?
Okay, you said at the beginning, the buyer's journey. We got to understand the buyer's journey. So I got to break down the buyer's journey based on the ICP, the avatar there. Because again, each avatar that I'm going after may have a different sales cycle, may have a different purchase, may have different needs, different outcomes.
100%.
So now I got to come back to what are the outcomes. And the easiest thing that I tell salespeople to do is you take a piece of paper, you write down the names of your 10 best customers, and not what you sold them, but what was the outcome you created.
Yeah.
And you begin to say, now, as you begin to understand the outcomes, you're going to begin to look at what are the challenges that they faced? What were the questions that they asked? What were the questions you asked? And you begin to build up this behavioral profile.
Okay.
Now, as I build up this behavioral profile, I can begin to go back and say, okay, this is going to help me determine the frequency of my messaging, the frequency of my contacts. This is also going to go back upstream to marketing to help them in terms of defining their messaging.
Yep.
Because one of the things we're moving into is very quickly is this very much micro messaging.
Yes.
It's not just this mass messaging.
No,
It is truly
that is a lie of marketing.
messaging, right?
Yep. There's not a single company message. There's not.
Right.
Yeah.
So what it allows me to do is it allows me to tailor it and make it that much tighter.
Yes.
Now, when I do that, I've got to then come back and say, okay, what is the frequency? How is marketing do this? Because this is going to then determine my cadence, my activity. Because at the end of the day, the most valuable resource any company has is not what they sell.
Yeah.
It's their people's time.
Yeah.
And that is the most valuable asset is their people. So I've got to make sure that I efficiently use that time as good as possible. So that's why I've got to break it down into small things. But here's the whole thing. And this is on salespeople. Don't think that, again, just because you called on 5 customers, that you have a statistically viable set of results. You really don't.
Yeah.
You have just 5 interactions. That's it.
Yeah.
So again, don't get caught up in what I say is from a sales process standpoint, move very slowly. For instance, one thing I use, if it takes you 90 days to typically close a deal.
Yeah.
I don't want to radically change my sales process until I've been at it at least 3x what it takes to close a deal. So I would have to be in that sales process for 9 months.
Yeah.
Before I can
3 full cycles.
3 full cycles
Yes.
to really see, okay, what is working? I see too many organizations. They get down to the end of the quarter. They get into a panic mode, and they change all this. We're going to change all this. We're going to change all this. And you know what, guys? All you're doing is knee-jerking.
Yeah.
And you want to attract top talent?
Yeah.
Be consistent.
Yeah.
Be consistent.
Yeah. Invite them into a system of excellence.
Absolutely consistent. Because top performing salespeople, and this is the key to success in sales, it's being absolutely routine oriented.
Yeah.
It's having a process that I can just repeat. The greatest words in sales are found on every bottle of shampoo. Rinse and repeat.
Right.
Rinse and repeat.
Exactly.
It is. I mean, it is. It's rinse and repeat.
Yep.
It's. For instance, when I was reaching out to this person 46 times, every message I said was different. Every message was different, whether it be email, whether it be phone call, whether it be social media, however, text message, however, every message. But every message, I'm delivering different value.
Yeah.
The top performing salespeople have got that, and marketing is helping to provide that. And what does it do? It allows me to rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Marketing's job, one of the things that marketing can do, is to help create the tools to allow sales to move faster. Any salesperson, people always say, well, how many leads, how many prospects can a salesperson handle? And I go, just as many as they can handle. That's it. There is no finite number. There is no finite number.
Right.
Because for some, it might be 30 or 40. For some, it might be 200, 300.
Yeah.
Again, it's whatever you can handle. But the key to sales, and again, this is the key that marketing can help. The sale is made in the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Follow-up.
So true.
Follow-up.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll give you a classic example. I had a company, and it was kind of driving me nuts. But this gentleman was sending me a text message like every other week. They were interesting text messages. He was with a company, and I never once responded. I mean, this went on for probably almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I never once responded. Okay, I'm a salesperson. I'm a little bit sucker. I should have told the guy to exit, but no, I kept. One day I'm sitting in a meeting with my company, with, my employees, and we're talking, and they say, hey, you know what, we need to do this and this and this. And I go, yeah, we need to find a company that does that. And I go, wait a minute. That's that guy who's been texting
Exactly.
me. That's that guy who's been texting me. I reach out to him and I go, hey, we need to get a meeting. I wound up doing a tremendous amount of business with him.
Amazing.
Now stop and think about that.
Yeah.
For probably 2 years, I'm ghosting him with a capital G-H-O-S-T. I mean, every letter's capitalized.
Yes.
And yet he got the order.
Yeah.
Because he stayed in the game.
That's right. 100%.
Stayed in the game.
100%. And when you have value to offer, why not stay in the game?
Stay in the game.
You're still doing your job by providing value regardless of the immediate outcome.
Yeah.
I love that. The other thing, get referrals that way. If you stay in the game and that person is not unsubscribing, and no one should be scared of unsubscribes. It's fine.
Thank you.
Let them go.
No.
Who cares?
No. Two people unsubscribed to my email.
Oh my gosh.
We can't.
Do not track that metric.
We can't send any more out because we had 2 people unsubscribe out of a list of 6,432.
So true. Infuriating. So, but I love that because frequently in conversations, they'll go, you know what? I've got somebody in my inbox. Let me forward you their email. And you're getting stranger referrals. Now that is called brand reputation. Yeah, that is called word of mouth. But it did not happen from this murky ether that people just randomly were like, wait, I think I've heard of this company somewhere. No, they know exactly where they heard about you, and they know exactly why they're forwarding on to a person that asks, have you ever heard of anybody that does this? Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, there's a person whose email I read, or a person that's in my phone contacts. Yes.
And the marketing messages. Exactly. And this is so many times, I've seen this play out so many times that I'll get a referral from somebody, and I go, oh, it's because I just saw this. I just saw that you spoke at this conference or this trade show or this, And again, our marketing messages are so important because it opens up so many things that we never, ever realize. And this is where I think we have to be very careful. I talked about 3-dimensional selling, where we see 3D. We have to be careful that it is becoming harder and harder to isolate exactly where that lead came from.
Yeah.
Because so many times they may have just responded to the website, but it's because they saw this video, they saw this message, they saw this print publication, they saw this, whatever.
Yep.
It's just that happens. Don't get believing
that it's not working.
Yeah. Everything is critical.
We refer to it as the system and the ecosystem. And it's interesting because you can see those data tails if you have the patience and you stay in the game. So for instance, like this podcast and YouTube channel is a great example where if you were to go how many direct leads where somebody said, I watched that one episode, clicked, booked a meeting, and became a client 30 days later. How many? Very few.
Said no one.
However, what we do see is the podcast, as it's gotten bigger and more followers and more comments, you know what we saw? We saw direct website traffic and website conversions increase dramatically. So now it's a product of a healthy ecosystem. And we don't really care. Is it just the YouTube channel or the SEO that comes from it or the blogs that it was linked, or is it the social media where we were sharing the shorts? Don't care. What we know is that it's a healthy, affordable ecosystem that builds value and builds trust. And we can see it in certain metrics where, that rising tide raises all ships. We saw all the lead sources go up, but especially direct, and there was different places, and you can literally go, oh, wait, we can see the tail 3 months later, 6 months later, which as marketers, that was what we were anticipating. And then we did see it. And so I love that you're bringing that up, because referral strategy, we've got a number of clients where their LinkedIn is not for their market, it's for their referrers. And so we are staying top of mind because one of their buyer personas, ICPs, is neither a customer nor a buyer, but the person who is the influence and creates the sales opportunities, simply because that's how they drive value for their clients. And so then social media is a part of the ecosystem to activate more people that love you, believe in you, and you make them look good because they circle back to you. Let's go.
Let's go. And also from an employee attraction, a candidate attraction.
One. It's a huge one.
And an employee retention. I mean, all
Huge.
these things but every building block adds on each other. Podcasting, how many times have you heard this? Well, we're just too late to the party.
Yeah.
Oh, we're still in the first innings of where podcasting is going to go.
Yeah.
And the impact, like you said, you take podcasts, you turn it into shorts, there's so many different mediums. And this is the whole key thing. And I find this every time we get into any kind of an economic, owners and CEOs, we're going to cut this. And when the business comes back, then we'll add it back in. We're only going to do this one thing. You're like, man, you're foolish.
Yeah.
You are absolutely foolish because you've spent all this time building this equity. And a rolling stone picks up more speed as it goes. But a stopped stone is very hard to get going.
Momentum is
so
huge.
You've got to keep that momentum going.
Yes.
And I especially if somebody is watching this and they're in an industry that's maybe going through some tough times, this is the time you grab market share.
Yes.
I always say if I'm in an industry that's going through a difficult time, that's when I accelerate because that is my time to grab market share.
Well, and we talk about return on investment as revenue, reputation, and resilience. We've got a client right now, their industry is massively under attack. We did have conversations with the client that we believed it was coming because of how the supply chain flowed after COVID and the height of it. And we were like, it's going to drop off. Demand is going to have to disappear because so many people satisfied the demand. That's what happened. But because of their marketing and their decision to stay in it and not get scared, they're flat. Now that sounds horrible. No, that is amazing because not only is their cash flow healthy, their customers are healthy, they've got a very stable position. They haven't lost a thing. The industry is down 20 and 25 points. Like it's dramatic and they're fine. They're solid. And that CEO is so happy. It's just the weirdest success story to be like flat. But when everybody else is bailing and they are having to do really risky decisions in order to stay above, and they are not facing any of that, and I guarantee you they will move into an acquisition strategy in about the next 12 to 18 months because of what's happening.
Yeah, because they're gaining market share.
Exactly.
They're flat, others are down. So that means, okay, they are gaining market share.
Exactly.
This is, again, I've got to look at my marketing and my sales from a macro perspective, put in the context of the industry, and begin to understand where is this space going in the next 12 to 18 months. Now, I can't always predict that. I totally get that. But I've got to be proactive. Yeah. And if I put my head in the sand and think, well, I'm just going to hunker down. You know what? Then you have just adopted cash flow pricing.
Yes.
And you might as well check out because it's just not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mark, you and I could keep going.
Oh man, this
is so fun.
Okay, we're just going to take a break and come back, right?
I know, right? So much. So 2 final questions. What have I not asked you? Like, what's the thing that you're like, okay, can I please tell the audience this thing? Like, is there anything that really jumps out to you where you're like, I really want to get this across to people?
No, it's just one thing. It's in anything that we do, it's people. It's and for all of us, regardless of your job, we wake up in the morning and we have to ask ourselves, who will we influence and impact?
Yeah.
And also, who will influence and impact us?
That's right.
Sales, I say sales is not a solo activity. Sales is a team sport.
Yes.
But you know what? That applies to anything.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
what's not to like when you get to wake up in the morning and help people?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys, Mark is an amazing author and podcast host. He's got a phenomenal newsletter that I followed for years before we ever got to know each other one-to-one. So make sure you are following him. Trust me on this. So Mark, tell people, how can they find you? What are some of the resources you've got out there?
Yes, thesaleshunter.com. That is the business. That's what everything is around. People ask me, what was your name before you changed it? No, my dad hit it right with the last name of Hunter. So it's thesaleshunter.com. I've got several books out there on Amazon. We've got the podcast Sales Logic and the Sales Hunter podcast. Why do one podcast when you can do two, right? Hey. And I speak at a lot of conferences, do a lot of work with companies. I mean, I travel the world. I've now had the chance to speak in 30 different countries around the world.
Amazing.
And you know what? Life is fun, and nothing happens until something's sold.
That's right. Exactly. Thank you so much. And you guys, if you like this, we would love to see your comments. We really want to see that like button. And more importantly, go ahead and subscribe so that we show up week after week for you to help you create an amazingly aggressive and heart-forward strategy to grow your revenue. Onward and upward.